So hello, welcome to this video. The idea of this is that we provide some answers to questions that often come up in our open days for potential applicants to psychology at Lancaster University. So my name's Padraic Monaghan. I'm a Professor of Cognition in Psychology at Lancaster.
I'm Emily Reece. I work in student recruitment within the Psychology department at Lancaster.
I'm Celine. I've just finished my third year here at Lancaster and I'm also the current Bee Ambassador for the Belong, Engage, Employ programme.
I'm Jess, Wang. I'm a lecturer in cognitive psychology.
Great. So now we'll move on to some of the individual questions and our responses to them.
One of the first questions that people always ask is, what do you think is distinctive about psychology at Lancaster, in your personal opinion? Would you like to start, Padraic?
Yeah, so what I find really distinctive about psychology and in comparison to other departments I know around the country is really the sense of community that we have in our department. So we're a fairly small department in terms of other UK universities, and that means that the communication and the interaction we have amongst ourselves as staff and also with our students is really effective part of the way in which we work. I also think a really important aspect of our department is that we're a research intensive department, but we also really try to balance that with effective teaching and investment in teaching, and to draw those two things together as much as possible as well. And one of the advantages of that is that we have this really rich community of postgraduate research students as well that also engage with teaching and get involved with the undergraduates too. Celine, what do you think's distinctive about our department?
Well, yeah, I totally agree with what you said, especially because it's a campus-based university, so it makes it very easy for our psychology department communities to be around each other and to be there to support each other. Which is really important for students who come from all over, and they'll need that support when they're away from home and they're experiencing all these different things that come with going to university. And so there are multiple layers of support, not just from your peers and your classmates, but also with what the department can provide, such as the PEP programme, the B programme. So as I said, it stands for Belong, Engage, Employ, and we offer like brain food and careers cafe to help students with well-being services, like writing personal statements and cover letters and gaining experience. And all those might be a little bit harder to do if it's like, a bigger community, but we're so close-knit and it's really lovely. And I like other students to be able to have the experience that I've had in being able to go to staff members whenever I'm in need of help. So it's a really lovely community, absolutely.
Are you going to miss us, Celine? I know we're going to miss you.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to miss talking at all these open days and just all the events and just helping other students as well. So knowing that other students experience the same type of struggles that I struggle with, and it's nice to be there for each other, definitely.
Good.
What do you think, Jess? What were your thoughts?
I mean, community spirit is a really big thing, and really, I came here 3 years ago, and yeah, that's a really massive thing for me. I think, yeah, just to kind of combine a little bit of what Padraic and Celine both said, I think the opportunity and format we have to interact with our students is really, really, valuable and very, very interesting. So not just, in different forms of classes and lectures, seminar labs, but also outside of that with our academic tutees. We have these one-to-one meetings. We really get to know our students. A lot of my third-year students are still keeping me informed with their decision on careers. And like Celine said, the PEP placement, so students get to choose placements if they wanted to volunteer. And yeah, it's been really a productive relationship on those placements I found with my students. So I really appreciated those opportunities. And like Celine said, there's other forms of interaction among students themselves. And I think that's really what ties people together in the department. So yeah, I really enjoy that kind of people aspect. And I think we're all, very appreciative of each other. So yeah, I think that makes Lancaster very, very special.
That's super. And another question that we get asked very, very frequently at open days, and it's obviously something that helps people decide which place they'd like to study at, is something that Padraic's already touched on, but a little bit about what kind of size the department is. Obviously, that's spilled over into our community field, but if Padraic, you might explain a little bit more about the size of the department. I know you touched on it earlier, and how this impacts on classes, and maybe the old question about the staff student ratio, which people always want to know about.
Yeah, so for the undergraduate students in our department, across the 3 years, we have about 560 students currently in the department, and our aim is to keep the numbers around sort of 150 to 200 students per year. That's the kind of range that we aim for, and we have 40 academic members of staff teaching those students, but we also have this group of postgraduate research students as well that get involved in the teaching as well. You know, that's an important part of their development, because they're going on to become academic teachers themselves. So we have lots of different ways of teaching, and the staff student ratio that we have means, when it was last assessed in 2019 by the British Psychological Association, the ratio was just over 10, so 10 students to each staff member, and that means that we can really have that engagement with students, and we teach in all sorts of different ways. I think we'll talk about that a bit later, but it does give us this opportunity for lots of one-on-one mentoring with students, and also supervision in the final year as well. Does anyone else want to come in on that? It's kind of a factual question, this one, really.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Celine thinks. You know, how have you felt about the experience of studying and being taught in this size department, and the access to staff? How has that affected you?
Well, I think one of the best things about the department is that, as far as I'm told, it's a medium-sized department. I think small to medium-sized department, which has really helped in helping students be in contact with staff as frequently as they possibly can be. So allowing students to have academic tutors, where each academic tutor only has like a couple of students to themselves. The same with supervisors in your 3rd year. I think it's like 4 or 5 to each supervisor. And when you have a small department like that and a good ratio between staff and students, it just makes it a lot easier for both the student to learn and approach support, as well as for the department to keep an eye on students and make sure that they're doing well in their academics as well in their well-being and health as well. So it's been really nice as a student, definitely. Well, I know for me that I've always been able to approach a member of staff, and they've always replied to my emails, which might be a little bit harder to do if it was a more favourable ratio.
That's great. Whilst you're talking as well, Celine, something that is popular at Lancaster, something we're really proud of, is the minor system in first year. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that?
So a lot of students in Lancaster have to opt in for a minor. Not all subjects have this. It's just if there's space or extra credits within your subject, it's compulsory to have a minor, but other subjects might not have that. So for psychology, right now we only have to pick one extra minor to fill up those credits, and at the moment there's a recommended list of minors for psychology students to take. So I picked gender and women's studies in my first year, but I know that a lot of psychology students picked criminology or sociology, topics that go really, really well with psychology itself. So that's something that other students can come and enjoy, because it means that they can explore other subjects whilst they're here and maybe see what else they're interested aside from psychology, but also blends really well with psychology anyway, and so it also helps with that teaching. Jess, would you like to come in there?
Yeah, so I think the minor subject system we have here is really fantastic, because, you know, people sometimes forget they're studying for a degree, of course, but they're also entering a university, which is, you know, a really enriched intellectual place. So the fact that Lancaster has this minor subject system means students can exploit that and actually explore, you know, ideas and topic areas that are outside of their immediate interest. And that provides, you know, really fertile ground, I think, for further intellectual development. And you see students kind of finding new interests and seeing creative ways subjects can be combined. So I think that's a really valuable thing about Lancaster.
Yeah, and I find that as well. So it makes seminars much more interesting, that students have all these different perspectives that they can bring to psychology as well, and you know, blend those ideas in that university setting. It's a really nice part of the first year. And you see the effects of that through the students learning and throughout the whole program.
That's really interesting to get that staff perspective on it as well as student perspective. Another really, really big question that we always get asked is, what is the difference between the BA and the BSc? Padraic.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is the degree that you're awarded at the end in terms of your degree certificate. But the actual courses themselves are absolutely identical here at Lancaster. So we offer students the opportunity to study for a BA or for a BSc because they might feel that this better represents their particular view of psychology as an art subject or as a science subject. So that's the only reason. So there's no difference actually in terms of the program that you study or the entrance requirements for the BA versus the BSc. And both of those programs, both of those degrees are accredited by the British Psychological Society. So if you wanted to go on to psychology as a profession, then both would be equally valid for that. Does anyone else want to comment on that one?
What did you go for, Celine?
So I went for a BSc, but you can change what you want on your transcript and your degree certificate up until near the end of your third year, I think. So there's no difference in the teaching of them. It's just what you want to be awarded with. I would say that for someone who wants to continue on to a psychological route traditionally, that BSc was best for me. But I understand that if you have more of a maybe arts view of psychology, then a BA would also be good for you. But it's up to students, and I think having that choice is really great for them because they can choose what they want out of their degree, depending on their viewpoint of psychology.
Yeah,
I think I would dare to show us that most people do choose to graduate with the BSc, but
yeah,
you still have that flexibility for those who don't.
Yeah.
Moving on to combined degrees, another popular topic at open days, whilst people are considering what they might want to study. Could we talk about the split between psychology and other subjects in the joint stroke combined degrees that we offer? Jess, could you cover that?
Yeah, we do get asked a lot, and I think we do offer, you know, a number of very interesting and sensible combination. Yeah, we always get asked what's the split between psychology and our combining subject, and that really varies from kind of program to program. So, and people quite often ask us kind of, how do I make a decision? Do I go for straight psychology or combined? And what's the difference? I think there's a few things to bear in mind, really. Like, first, it's important to think of your degree as just part, like one step of your, you know, start of your career and, you know, intellectual journey. So I think your choice very much should depend on what your kind of longer term plans are, how that fits in with your career goal. What is it do you want to get out of the degree? And in that line, I think it's important to just drill into the details for people to go and have a look at the brochure, to look at the modules offered in each of these programs and look to see whether that's really what you want. Because, you know, the branding of psychology with whatever might sound a certain way, but I think it's important to understand what it will be like to study the actual modules. And then I think finally, it's just to bear in mind, you know, because it's psychology with something, effectively that means we're working with another department to offer that degree. So it's important to get the perspective from both departments, because each department, of course, offer different modules, but also they have slightly different cultures and teaching methods. So I think it's important to understand kind of to try and find out whether that's really suitable for you by talking to the departments. So Open Day creates a great opportunity for people to do that. And I would really encourage someone who's trying to make up their mind to just come and speak to us and speak to the other department as well.
So you can always email psychology@lancaster.ac.uk for any queries you have, and we can also put you in touch with other departments if you're interested in combined degrees. There's also quite a lot of information on our web pages about those combined programs as well. And most of them are accredited by the British Psychological Society. And that depends on the balance, whether it's accredited or not, depends on the balance really that you find. But that's really clearly indicated in the brochure and on the web page. So do go there, but ask us if you've got any more questions. I think that's exactly what Emily would say, isn't it?
Yeah, we do field a lot of questions at Open Days about criminology and psychology, and that is one that isn't accredited with the BPS at this moment in time. So that is something to bear in mind, what you might want to do in the future, just to make sure it is the right choice for you, really. Study abroad, another popular topic, particularly more interesting at the moment given the current situation that's going on in the world. Padraic, would you be able to touch on that?
Yeah, so the study abroad program, if you sign up for that program, this gives you a year visiting another university in the third year of your studies, and then you'll come back to Lancaster in the fourth year for your studies. And we have partnerships with lots of different universities around the world for this. I've got the list here. So at the moment, our current students on the study abroad program can go and study in universities in Malaysia, South Korea, Australia, USA, Canada, and various countries around Europe as well. And the idea is that you will study other subjects in those other universities, get that cultural insight into these other countries, but also, an interesting perspective on the way in which universities operate in those countries, and sometimes a slightly different flavour of psychology that you might study in those universities as well. And we do get questions about fees as well on the study abroad programme. And so currently, for our current students, the fees are set for the year abroad. You pay 15% of the annual fees for that year that you're abroad, and that comes to Lancaster University, and you don't pay anything to the university that you go to visit. So it would cost you 15% of studying for a year in Lancaster.
I would add that it's worthwhile taking the time to either on the Open Day itself or afterwards speaking to the Global Experiences team. They're just so helpful, friendly. They have a ton of information about the different institutes that you can go to, how it all works, what support they offer you. And I think what I've found is it really puts people's minds at rest about how much support is available from the university in getting to the point where you go abroad and whilst you're out there. And I think they're just really, really useful team to speak to. So I would recommend that personally.
It does seem like a good experience. So one of the students whose project I supervised this last year, she came back from a year abroad for her final year back in Lancaster. And not only did she come back with a very nice suntan, she also came back with with a really nice insight into some additional subjects that she'd had a chance of studying abroad. So yeah, it really was effective for her in enriching her degree program. She had a really good time there. Celine,
yeah,
he's done it.
Yes, I know quite a few people who have gone on a year abroad, and I will say that it's opened their minds drastically into a different culture, into a different language, and that all offers you insight into the way you think about psychology, but also it gives you a whole different life experience, which you get to have at such a young age, come to university and go on a year abroad. So I just think it's so interesting, and it takes a lot of guts, I think, to be able to just go abroad for a year and take that into your hands, because it can be a very scary thing to do, to go live in a different country. But the fact that the university offers it so well in so many different countries, it's just amazing for students to be able to experience. And you get I think you get a lot of support as well in the process of going abroad.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, as a mum, it's something I'd really encourage my children to do when they get to that age, because I've seen student ambassadors who work for us like go away and they come back different, just in that short space of time that I can't quite explain it, but they're just more mature. They just seem different, even though they look exactly the same. They just seem different. So they've obviously really developed whilst they're away, and I think that's a really lovely thing, and it's a great opportunity to do it whilst you can.
Yeah, and some come back knowing a whole different language.
Yeah, you mean some of them speak Australian even.
I have a friend in South Korea at the moment, and she's doing really well with her Korean.
Is that Marie?
Yeah, it's Marie.
Great.
Yeah, she'll be coming back soon as well, as soon as she's able to.
Great. Okay, so moving on. Talking about how students learn whilst they're here, what our teaching looks like. Is this something that Dr. Chris Walton covers in his video about how we teach? But it'd be interesting to get a student's perspective on it. You know, if you could perhaps explain to us about the different types of classes and how it's been for you as a student.
So our department offers a range of teaching methods. So it's from really big lectures where all the students are there in one lecture theatre, and then there are much smaller classes such as lab classes where you might have maybe 20-30 students within a lab class, so that every student gets the opportunity to learn that particular research methods class and so on. And then, sorry, there's someone at the house. And then you also have seminar classes, which are about 10 to 15 students at a time, usually taught either by another researcher or lecturer in the department, or a PhD student, a postgraduate student. And having those variety of teaching methods, I feel that really helps, because you get to have this one big lecture where you're just initially learning all the things that you're being taught, and then you also get the opportunity to ask more about things that you don't understand or about coursework when you then go to your seminars or these smaller lab classes. And then it also makes it very easy for you to approach the people who are teaching you to ask questions, because you have all these different environments to communicate with them. You don't always have to put your hand up in a really big lecture theatre where you might not be comfortable in asking questions. But there's also Moodle as well, where you can ask a question on a forum and they'll reply to you. So it's really great to have all these different teaching methods, because different people learn in different ways, and some need that support more than other people.
Super. So just to clarify, Moodle's our virtual learning environment, and it will be not similar to things that people, I guess, have had at college when doing their A-levels and similar qualifications. People always ask a lot about contact hours. So would you mind just telling us a little bit about what your typical week look like? Because we're very mindful that at this stage, the number of hours that people spend engaging with staff might be different than what people are used to in their prior study.
So each of all my contact hours differed from year to year, from first to third year. So in first year, I would say that I had probably the least amount of hours, just because, so I had my 2 psychology modules and then I had my minor module, and it will differ between people depending on how many lectures per week is their minor module. So I would say that I was only in for maybe 9-10 hours a week in first year, and then a little bit more hours in second year, which people usually tend to find the hardest year because it's such a big jump and you're also learning a lot more than you are in first year. And then I'd say in my third year, because there's a lot more focus on your dissertation project, and also you're also able to pick your modules in your third year, I probably had one of the least amount of times in my third year, because I had to focus so much on my dissertation. So I would say that you are given the amount of hours that you need per year that is necessary, I feel. But there's a lot of focus on independent study, so that's something that you have to factor in when it comes to like contact hours and learning, is that you might have all these contact hours for you to as an independent worker and use the resources that the university and the department give to you in the form of like staff and other students.
Those hours are in line with what the university recommends, policy-wise. Jess, you're really hot on the topic of independent learning, aren't you?
Yeah, it's all about independence. So, you come to the university, and this is where we want you to really become an independent thinker. So it's, of course, the classes, seminars are all important, but what's really, valuable to develop in university is an ability to think independently, think critically, find those original materials, and, make a decision for yourself as to whether you think they're right or wrong. So that's the kind of real valuable skill we want our students to kind of go away with. So like Celine said, independent work is very, very important, and we emphasize, the need for students to put in those hours. So you might think, okay, only 9-10 hours contact time. First of all, those are kind of classes. So your time being in contact with your academic tutor is outside of that. And you might have kind of other peer support learning groups that's outside of that. So it's not that you're only seeing people for 9-10 hours a week, but it's rather those are class times. And then when we design our curriculum, we actually budget in a 40-hour working week for our students. So you can expect to have to work full time. For some students, maybe even more, and if someone requires the time to digest and really think through some of the materials, absolutely fantastic. But we design our curriculum with a kind of full-time job equivalent of load in mind. So don't underestimate those kind of 9-10 hours of contact time. There's a lot packed in there. Reading lists for students to, further explore the subject, additional materials. Our colleagues run, Neuro TV for a neuro module, for example, additional materials. There's lots and lots to explore in the kind of intellectual world. So yeah, you absolutely will fill up those 40 hours, no problem.
Great. So, Celine, would you be able to talk a little bit about how you're assessed as a student? And Jess, you're welcome to chip in with some stern advice if you want.
I think for me, I've been assessed in a variety of different ways, and from essays, presentations, lab reports, quizzes, web-based assessments, which are like quizzes. And I think that's been really helpful in terms of allowing students the opportunity to express their strengths. So there might be some students who are really, really great at presentation skills, but they might not be so great at writing an essay, or they might not be as, their strengths might not be in writing an essay. So allowing students all these opportunities to be assessed in different ways gives them all the opportunity to work at their strengths and provide staff, the opportunity to read their work in their best conditions. So like I said, there's essays, presentations, lab reports, you have lay summaries and actual exams as well. These are always changing, and depending on what the department review each year to be better for students, and they're always giving the students the opportunity to shine depending on what assessment best shows their strengths. So I think that's really good of the department and really good for students.
Mm-hmm. Is it different than what you experienced at A level? Were there any
definitely. Because at A level, when you study psychology at A level, you pretty much put everything out in an exam, and in an exam is where you write your essay, it's where you answer maybe multiple choice questions. It's all done at the end of the year, as far as I'm aware. That's the structure right now, is that your A-level exams are done after 2 years. So it's a really different experience, and the way that you learn and the way that you're taught is a lot more academic, and so the way that you're assessed will obviously also be much more academic. So maybe when you're doing a presentation in A-level, you might not be expected to cite and source your material that's included in your presentation, whereas in university, that's what's expected of you. It's the type of professionalism and the type of sort of academic expectancy that they want from you to be able to progress in a career in psychology.
We could never have said it like that, could we? So, you mentioned that, it's a good chance for people to practice areas that they might feel less confident in. For example, you might be comfortable with doing a presentation, but less so with essay writing and vice versa. Is there support out there to help you with the bits that you're a little more nervous around?
Yeah, absolutely. So you also have your academic tutor who can maybe look at your grades and maybe help you look at your feedback for all the work that you've been given. There's also language support because they have a lot of international students, but also even if you're from here and you just need a little bit of help with essay writing, there's the resources for that within the department and also outside in the university. And also have, like I said, with the B program, we have sessions where we talk about how to write good personal statements and good essays as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for students to find support they need for the work that for the aspects of their work that they need to improve on.
That's great. You've got to plug your B program, Celine. Plug your B.
Always.
Jess, do you have anything on assessment?
Yeah, I think what's kind of implicit in everything that's been said very well by Celine is the kind of emphasis on transferable skills. So of course, you know, the variety of assessments allows students with existing skills to shine in different ways, but it also allows students who might not have, you know, such a natural flair with presentation to have a go and have, you know, build some confidence in a safe environment with some really constructive feedback to polish up those skills. Because, you know, in the real world, that's what we're minded, right? When we take students through a degree, we want them to come to the end of a degree, be as prepared as they can be for, you know, whatever next. So we really try to build in these opportunities to develop and polish these transferable skills. And of course, you know, the support that comes along with that is absolutely necessary. It's not, you know, of course, it's nice for people to be able to shine in different ways with their natural talent, but I think what we really want to see is, you know, everyone to have a chance at polishing these different skill sets. And that's what we're really minded of. I think just from again, intellectual point of view, it's good to approach a certain set of material from different angles, you know, not just to be able to remember the references in an essay or exam, but also, you know, to think creatively about it as well. You know, more and more we ask students to think about, okay, you know, given the existing literature, what new studies would you propose? How would you present that in a talk, in a poster, in a written form, grant proposal? It just helps you to, you know, think about your ideas in multiple different ways. And certainly for myself, when I, you know, do my own research, I like to have that kind of dialogue, and that helps me to kind of bring the ideas out. So it's, you know, these different formats allow students to be intellectually creative as well.
Yeah,
so yeah.
I think that creativity is something that employers seem to really like from graduates of our program. So those of our graduates that go into psychology careers or into general graduate careers, they take this really broad transferable skill set with them. They have those scientific analytical skills and also those skills for presentation and skills for writing as well. It's quite a unique combination that psychology provides.
Another really big question that we always get asked at open days is on year placements. We get asked in particular, why don't we offer a year work placement? And we do it our own particular way for a reason. Who would like to speak to that in the first instance? Go for it.
So one way in which the department allows students to get experience, especially research experience and experience that will be really integral to their career as a traditional psychologist, is through the PEP program, which is a psychology employability program. And this program allows students to get experience in the research lab with different lecturers, but it also allows them to gain opportunities within the communities, whether it's in health or education, things that also help students within their psychology career. And so what's really great about this is that the PEP program is really flexible. So if you manage to get onto a placement, it works around your studies really, really well. And that's been really helpful for me in that I didn't have to commit too much to it, but I knew that I was getting such essential experience for what I wanted to do in the future. So it's a really great program and something that I encourage all students from first to third year to apply for, because there's no limit. Whether you have experience or not, you are still able to apply for a placement within this program. So it's one of the things I've loved the most about psychology, because it makes it stand, this department makes it stand out in comparison to other psychology departments which may not offer this experience to their students.
And the placements are with all sorts of different groups, aren't they? So places in the community, but also some projects in the department as well, where you can really get some extra experience of conducting contemporary research. So, Jess, you had a recent student working, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've taken students every year, and we've been really productive. And one in the very first year, so 2 years ago, my students actually collected between them 100 participants, and we're writing up this, it's already been submitted, and we're in the process of revising a really, I think, fantastic paper that has, some legs really in the field to make some impact. So, students have the chance to, not only work with communities, but also with ourselves on cutting edge research. And what I always say to my academic QTs is that, you're given the opportunity to apply from your very first year, so go for it, because only by doing something will you find out whether that's really for you or not. And it's great that there's the community strand and the research strand, so you can explore both aspects of this kind of more real world application of your skill sets, as well as the kind of more intellectual side. If you wanted to decide whether further research studies postgrad is for you, these research placements are really great. And even just from, learning more about science perspective, by being in the labs with us, you get to be exposed to these different softwares and different facilities, using TMS, using EEG, the eye tracker. And those are really valuable experience. I just, think is something we do so well at Lancaster. And just a final point is that we select our placement students using a kind of standard hiring process almost. Although it's a volunteer basis, we get students to prepare their CV, cover letter, and we take them through interviews. So that from an employability perspective, it's a really valuable process to go through, because you get to prepare your application materials, from your very first year. So in our first year module, we get students to do those preparations, regardless of whether they end up applying to a placement or not. But since they're doing that, a lot of them make use of that opportunity and actually applied. So it's in that process, first you get to find out whether you really like something. And even if you don't, great, you can rule that option out. That's still valuable information to have gained. And if not least, if nothing else, you come away with a set of polished application materials for whatever next job you go on to do. So yeah, I can't sing enough praises of PEP for my own benefit of, getting research done and also interacting with students in a really, intimate way. For example, my PEP students come to my lab meetings and we read journals together. We have these further discussions about the literature, which is valuable for all of us. So it's productive for the staff, but you can see how it's really, really useful for the students as well.
Yeah,
Celine, would you have something to add?
Yeah, just talking from personal experience, not just for myself but for other students, is that these PEP placements have given them such great opportunities, in that some of them have been published during their undergrad, which isn't a common thing for for undergrads to be, and myself included. Our names being included in these projects in publications is such a big help for when you go on to apply for postgraduate studies or other jobs. And so they're a great thing to have on your CV or resume, and I couldn't recommend it enough, as Jess said.
Good.
That's super. We've talked a little bit about support that's available already. What about pastoral support? Do you have anything like from a student perspective, or Jess or Padraic from a staff perspective?
Celine, do you want to start?
So I'd say with pastoral support, I'm incredibly close to my academic tutor, and I can count on him to answer questions or any queries I may have or concerns that I may have to do with my study, but also personal well-being as well. I can always ask for advice, and just how quickly they respond and the time that they give us has been really helpful throughout my time at university, and it makes you feel more connected with staff. And there's always the opportunity to reach out to them, whether it be after you finish a piece of coursework or maybe there's something going on in your personal life, so they can direct you to the right sources, but also help you themselves from their own personal experience and advice that they can give you. So that's been really nice as a student, absolutely.
So yeah, that's the academic mentoring, where we meet students individually and regularly throughout the course of their studies. So it's kind of outside the delivery of the course material, but it's also to provide extra opportunities to talk through the programme of work and to talk through the feedback as well that students get. What about peer mentoring? Celine, have you been involved in our peer mentoring scheme?
So I was a peer mentor in my 3rd year, but I also, as a student, I've also been a mentee to these other peer mentors. And it's just a great opportunity for 1st year students to be able to talk to older students in the course on advice on many different things. They can't help you directly with any academic work, but certainly the transition between, moving into becoming a university student. So they can help you with sort of socializing with your course, socializing with people outside of your course, and finding a different home for your 2nd year. So it's really nice to have them because they're just there to offer advice as a student and as a peer. So it's another resource for when students come to university.
Yeah, another support we provide in the in the department for students. We have these career cafes where we talk to the students about potential careers they might follow, and we get people in from different careers as well to talk about their experiences following from a psychology degree. And we have the B as well, the B psychology, where we get students together to support their development in multiple ways and really engage with the subject and engage in the applications of the subject as well outside academia. And we have the placement program as well. We've talked about that already. And I think that's a really important source of support as well, both from within the department and in the local community as well, so linking us up in a much broader community. There are these other sources of support in the faculty and in the university that students can access as well if they need them. So we have writing support for English writing in the faculty, if that's helpful for students. And we also have statistics support as well. So inevitably, when you study psychology, you will do some statistics. And this is really the scientific underpinning of the way in which we analyse psychological data. But there's lots of support for that within the courses as well as outside the courses for students who need a bit more structure there, a bit more support there. And there's also lots of services within the university for supporting students as well. So as well as IT support, there's also counselling support if necessary, various student support services. And I think if you have a browse around the university website, you should be able to see the kinds of support that students can find in the department as well as in the university more generally. Have we covered everything, Jess?
Yeah, one tiny thing, because Lancaster has a collegiate system, which means that within colleges, there's also well-being support and the kind of community within the college. So really, the support students kind of go to can depend on how they identify certain aspects of their life in the university, within the college, within the department, the faculty. So there's a lot out there, a lot of opportunities.
Very good point, yeah.
Right. Well, slight change of topic now. Another very, very common question at open days is, do you have to have studied psychology or sciences A-level or equivalent in order to be able to apply here? Celine, would you like to put your take?
Well, for this particular psychology department here at Lancaster University, you don't actually have to have studied psychology at A-level, and so that is because our 1st year psychology is very introductory level and allows everyone to get onto the same level of knowledge needed to go on to the 2nd and 3rd year. So I think that's really great because it means that students, despite not having studied it at A-level, it gives them the opportunity to still study at university. with no sort of restrictions to that. And there are a wide number of subjects that you could do at A-level that fit into psychology anyway. So I think that's a really great thing for students, because it just allows them, you know, a pathway into psychology if they decide to do it later on, you know, in terms of they might not have decided to do it at A-level. So it still gives them that opportunity to study it, which is really great.
We often see applications for people who haven't had the opportunity to study it as well. And I think what's important to note is that if you haven't taken psychology, you haven't had the opportunity to take it before, it's absolutely fine. Just in your personal statement, you know, tell us why you like it, why you're interested, and anything that you've done to demonstrate that interest, be it reading round or watching talks on YouTube, just something that shows us that your passion is there, really. So it's not something to worry about at all. Jess,
yeah, so I
teach on this?
The first year modules, and we make no assumptions about prior knowledge coming into psychology. First, because we do, you know, encourage people without A-level psychology, or with that, you know, everyone to apply, as long as they can show a genuine interest in the subject. And secondly, the kind of content-based module that I teach on. So in the first year, there's a kind of cluster of content-based, topic-based, cognitive, social, developmental, and neuroscience. And then there's the kind of research methods and statistics-based subjects. I teach on the content-based stream, and in that stream, that's offered as a minor subject as well. So we simply can't assume anyone to come in with prior knowledge, because it's open to students on other degree programs to take as well. So we take people very gently from the start, and we try to make it as interesting and engaging as possible in the first year, so that everyone develops, you know, an interest in psychology and can see how fascinating of a subject is. One thing I always say as well, you know, psychology is a scientific subject rooted in philosophy, so you can see how it connects with a really broad range of subjects. So really, yeah, you don't need to have studied psychology per se. You could have studied physics, maths. That's all, you know, relevant and important foundation for studying psychology.
But we don't put any restrictions on the A-level subjects of students, and it's really just about that demonstration of your interest in psychology. That's really what we're looking for. So yeah.
So on that note, Padraic, would you like to talk us through the numbers? Because we always get asked about the number of applications and the number of offers.
Yeah, so how many applications do we tend to get each year? Well, we tend to get about 1,500 applications for study at Lancaster Psychology each year. And, you know, we look to take between 150 and 200 students in each year, just so we can maintain that really effective staff-student ratio in the department. The students who apply, we make the majority of the students who apply offers, actually. So any student who demonstrates that there's a good chance of them reaching the required grades for coming to Lancaster Psychology, and that also can demonstrate that, you know, that real interest, that genuine interest in psychology as the subject that they want to invest 3 years of their university time in. And those are the students to whom we make offers. So we get a lot of applications, but we make offers to all students who we think have a good chance of making it here, getting the grades for here, and will be really interested in the subject.
I think we always say if anybody's unsure at all in any way, to contact our admissions team directly, so that they're available on in a channel today, or they can be contacted as ugadmissions@lancaster.ac.uk. We have our colleague Hendrik there, who is a lovely fellow, and we can just speak honestly to people about their case. It's always good to get his insight for some verification, really.
Yeah, if you're in doubt, then do ask. Yeah.
Okay, and on that note, one key entry requirement that always comes up at open days is GCSE Maths. because we need a 6 or what was a B. Can you just explain that why we have that and what could happen maybe if people haven't achieved that? Jess.
Yes. Yeah, so we asked for a 6 or equivalent in maths because of the statistics component we were talking about. Because psychology is a scientific study, so we need the kind of statistical tools to help us to verify the results and reliability of those findings. So it's important to really upfront acknowledge that you will need those statistical skills to be developed through the course of the degree. That's why we ask for a certain level of maths. I guess there's 2 things on that. Firstly, if you're close, if you have a 5, for example, our applications are reviewed on a case-by-case basis. So it's still worth, either making an inquiry or even putting in an application, because we will look for other evidence that you can handle the kind of scientific thinking, because that's what the statistical side is designed for. Secondly, in terms of our teaching in the program, if you have the achieve grade, but you're somewhat worried about the maths and stats component, we have a lot of support for students who are perhaps not entirely natural at thinking about maths and stats, and our courses are taught to are designed to bring everyone up to speed from the very, very kind of foundation. So, we don't make offers to people we don't think have the potential to really excel at it. We're not trying to trip people up or anything. So the thing is, we will support you through your learning of maths and stats on the learning side, and on the application side, if you're unsure, just get in touch, and admissions will be able to give kind of more concrete advice on any borderline cases.
Can I ask you about the EPQ, the extended project qualification? Can this help in some instances?
Yeah, so I think this is, a very valuable piece of work that Lancaster certainly values. And because, like Celine mentioned, in the 3rd year, students have this kind of research project they have to undertake. So an EPQ can provide a really valuable foundation and experience to that kind of independent learning process. So yeah, absolutely, it's very valuable. And if you've done it, mention it in your personal statement. Give us an insight into what you've done and how that's relevant to psychology. We love to see that.
Yeah.
So touching on personal statements, Padraic, do you have any advice for people on what they should write in their personal statement?
Yeah, we read your personal statements, and we take them really seriously in the process. And really what we're looking for, as we said in our response to other questions, is just that indication that you're really passionate about psychology, that this is the subject for you, and it's a subject that you want to study. So give us your personal narrative about why it is psychology is of interest to you. Give us some of the experiences you've had where you've really been inspired by some sort of content of psychology. And one thing you might want to do is have a look around some of the TED Talks. There's loads of those on psychology, because psychology is just so integral to human experience. Have a look at some of the TED Talks, and you might want to write some of your reflections on those that particularly inspire you. But yeah, give us your personal perspective on psychology. Show us why you're genuinely passionate and interested in it. And that's a really important part of our understanding of how you will be a good match to our course.
And also a lot of people talk about experience that they've got, work experience. So we do understand that a lot of psychology relevant work experience isn't always available for people of certain ages, so we are fully aware of that. But anything that you've done at all, be it you've been volunteering in a charity shop, and anything at all, tell us about it. Even paid part-time jobs, we still want to know, because it shows that you can manage things and juggle things alongside your studies as well. Anything like guides or Duke of Edinburgh, talk to us about it, and just tell us about yourselves. Be proud of what you've achieved, and that does come through. We do pick up on that. So just don't be afraid to add things in.
Mm-hmm. Celine's got a comment, I think.
As well, with your personal statement, it's really important to show a little bit of who you are and what you enjoy. So if you have a certain hobby, like perhaps drama schools and playing musical instruments, that goes to show who you are as a person and how you manage your time, and also a way of how you deal with like stress and what you do in your spare time to kind of express yourself in other different ways. So I think it's really important that students do include these things, because it's a big aspect of who they are and it makes them who they are, and they should be really proud of that in these personal statements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree. So Celine, just to round things off, do you have any final words of advice? If you were talking to your 17, 18-year-old self now, having just experienced what you've experienced, what would you say to yourself now and to other people about embarking on this journey?
Well, I guess I'd say to myself that moving to university is a lot bigger in your mind than it really is when you get to it. That might be just for me, but I'll say that, just be confident and use the resources that the university offers to you, whether that be in your department or the actual university. That is the experience that you are paying for. And if you use them to your advantage, then you will not only get your, the cost that you're paying for, but also you get to have more transitioned experience, in that you get to settle in more with your friends and with the staff, you're learning. And so I'd say just not being afraid to use those resources to your advantage that the university is offering you has really helped me in my university experience, because that's what they're here for. The department is there to help you, as well as your course mates and your academic tutors, and that's made all the difference for me, all the support I've gotten. So just never be afraid to reach out for support is a really big piece of advice that I would give to students who are embarking on their university journey. And that's not just at Lancaster, that's at every university that you go to. That's the experience that you want, is to be able to reach out to other people when you need to.
Can I chip in with my advice? So, it's quite a long time ago, I must admit, but when I was a student, I got to my third year, and one of my lecturers said, you should really go and enjoy that exam, one of the finals exams. And this was a bit late in the process, the idea that you should, really enjoy the study and enjoy even the exam as part of that study. But I went into that exam and I did enjoy it. I just changed my mindset really about the whole process. So the assessment, and it's part of study, but it can also be an enjoyable part of it. So that for me is the key piece of advice when you're studying for your A levels, but also when you're at university. The whole point is really enjoy this and really engage with that material. It's not really about the grades, it's just about enjoying the whole process. Mm-hmm. That would be my advice. I got it a bit too late.
I'd say also just it'll be a bumpy road. Sometimes your time at university isn't a straight road, and students should know that that's typical of all university students, that they are not alone in their journeys, and they should be able to experience it, have fun. They should be able to focus on their studies with the right support, and they should just know that they're not alone in their journeys, whether they're finding it easy or hard. There's always someone there for them to talk to. And so just know that the end goal is always near, no matter what it be at university.
Sounds like fantastic advice. Yeah.
And can I just add a point as well? Celine touched on this. I think university, is a big step, but it is just one step in your really long journey. So it's important to put that into perspective, really. I'm not saying it's not important. Obviously, it's important and very interesting. That's why, I work here. But it is part of a much bigger picture. So it's important to keep that kind of big picture in mind when you're making these decisions. The decisions can seem really daunting, which degree program do I take? Where do I go? But just bear in mind, that's one piece of your whole life experience. You can gather many more pieces along the way, by study abroad, by further studies, by whatever, gap year. it's just one piece of it. So, make your decision wisely, but also don't get freaked out too much by that one decision, because it is just one step in your longer journey.
Okay, so that's all the questions for today. If you do have anything else that you'd like to ask us, do get in contact with the department. You can contact us on our email address, which is psychology@lancaster.ac.uk, and please do feel free to get in touch. We'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay, bye.